Hello and welcome to another episode of the video editing podcast from Unsplice, where you and I have a conversation about how you can become a better video editor so that you can work with your dream client sooner. This week we are speaking to Mark Griffin. He's an alumnus of Unsplice. He took the TV commercial masterclass and it inspired him to take his editing further. Since then, he's studied some more and he's looking to make the move from assistant editor to editor. So today you're going to hear a coaching call between the two of us. If you're in a similar position and you're looking to make the move from assistant editor to editor, I think there's some good advice and step-by-step advice to help you take that transition. Okay, on with the podcast. So tell me where you are now. Since you graduated, you've taken a master's, you graduated, and I believe that was 2021 you graduated?
Yeah, that's right. So graduated in 2021. I'm still working in editing, in post-production, kind of lecturing in post-production. I'm currently, and always, to be honest, looking for more projects. I made my own documentary kind of passion project quite recently.
Amazing.
So that was good. And it was actually on the craft of editing. It was about a friend of mine who's been an editor for 26 years. And so I just kind of, I suppose I produced and I edited that documentary. So it was a really enjoyable project. But yeah, I'm kind of rechanging my CV, developing my website again, and just kind of saying, I'm open for business for, I suppose, more drama work, and ultimately I want to go into more long form documentary would be my ideal. Moving away from kind of assistant editing into actual kind of editing roles.
With a conversation today, what are you hoping to get out of our conversation?
I'm advising people myself every day of the week as well, just on how to further their editing careers, but just maybe some of the lesser known, I won't say shortcuts because I don't necessarily believe in shortcuts, but some of the lesser known ways to break through into editing the editor position on longer form or even short, form content. Yeah.
Brilliant. It is, I think, I'm guilty of having done the same as well in the past, where it's easy to tell, to give advice, but it's sometimes difficult to follow your own advice because for some reason you feel your situation doesn't apply. So I'd be really interested to hear some of the tactics that you speak to, other people, assistants or whoever that are looking to advance their career. What sort of tips you give them? Then I know I don't need to repeat myself.
Yeah. I suppose the main ones I always say, it's good to cover most bases, to have most bases covered. Some people look for a show reel. Some people won't like the idea of a show reel and they prefer to see, maybe a private link to the projects you've done. So if you have both of those bases covered, that's great. Some people might look for a CV or a list, but I go more so with the format, a TV kind of industry standard CV, something like on Sarah Putt's Associates, that style of CV. That's what I'd advise people to do. I also say, go online and search some of the people that you do want to, in fact, actually work with, message them through various social media or through the professional channels, whichever is fitting on whichever occasion. Speak to directors, especially friends and also people you'd like to work with. Go to film festivals, kind of networking events, and just tell people you're available online as well. Make it clear you are available.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
work as well.
all fantastic advice, and that's pretty much where I would have started with you. I think if we get more granular, then I think the same advice could be even more powerful. One of the first things I tell anybody who is looking to take a step forward is, you've already mentioned, reach out to people who you'd like to work with. But with that direct approach, it's all about who you are contacting, who you're getting in touch with. Because if you want to work with a director, and the director is working at a certain level that you're not quite at, they're going to be highly unlikely to agree to take you on. And if that director is looking to bring on, if the project they're working on needs an assistant editor, the director, and probably not the producer, aren't going to be the people making the call to bring on those assistant editors. It's going to be the editor working on that project that's going to be bringing on the assistant editors. The first thing they're going to do is go to their list of contacts. Who can I get on this project? So what I suggest is network sideways. And that, in essence, means speak to people who doing the work that you would like to do yourselves. So not the necessarily editors or directors you'd like to work underneath, but people doing the exact job that you would like to do. Speak to them, reach out to them, and befriend them, really. When you first befriend them, you don't want to reach out to them looking for favors. It should be a genuine connection that you're trying to make, a genuine bond. Because when that person has too much work that they're looking to offhand, they're going to come straight to you because you're top of mind and they trust you. And so now you're working on that project. You have the contacts of everybody else on that project, the director, if there's another editor, if the producer, and the entire pyramid of that project is now in your network. It's kind of this. It's a similar concept to what you were saying, but it's a lot more granular, and the steps are a lot more actionable. Does that make sense?
That's a great strategy. Really good. If you do network sideways and you go granular and use that strategy and stick to that strategy, I think it'll pay dividends. Yeah,
absolutely. Is that something that you'd thought of before and gone into that level of detail?
I'll be honest, I did it a long while ago, and it did it did really work, and it did really work really well. It's something I will definitely go back into and reinvest time into to develop that network again.
Yeah, great. Good to hear. And I think some of the other tactics that you mentioned are great ways to network sideways. You mentioned film festivals. I think also following, there's categories on Vimeo as well. Of course, you've got the staff picks and all these other things, and you can see the credits. And the great thing about those is that you can literally see who did what and click them, and you've got their details. And with film festivals, they're all, thanks to COVID, they're all online now. So networking is even easier. I did that last year. There was a film festival on, and all digital, and it was in a completely different country, but easy. I could just buy a ticket, go online, and all of the details are there, and I can just message all these producers and editors and directors who I didn't actually know who they were before this festival, but I saw their work, fell in love with it, and it's in a way, there's the pandemic bringing everything online has been fantastic for that, and it's also meant that our pool of remote work has grown exponentially, and our network and the ease of building that network has also grown exponentially.
I really do like the idea of the remote side of things and working with, filmmakers and editors from all around the globe.
Working remotely has become, I dare say, the norm, but it is, it's almost expected in a way. There was never, before this, there was never a question. It was, you're working in our office, unless you have some kind of extenuating circumstance. Now, however, and even speaking to producers, it's kind of like working remotely or working, I don't even want to call it remotely, because editors have their own studio, they have their own kit at home.
Yeah.
And if that's where the film is made, then technically everybody else is remote,
Right. Yeah.
and where you are building the film is the hub. So I think that has become a change in mindset for so many people. All the jobs that I'm taking, they are requesting you in the office, whereas before it would be you're expected in the office, and you can request to be remote, but it would probably get denied. Now it's shifted, and I see that staying. I think there will be, certainly in documentary space, where everything is a lot more casual. Not everything is made by big companies. Generally, you're going to work with a close relationship with the director and the producer director, where it's just the two of you. So wherever the editor is, generally is where the producer director will come. So I think in a situation like yours with documentary editing, it's all going to be in your favor going forward. Yeah, I don't think you need to have any concerns about uprooting or going into another city or wherever just to be able to edit. You set the ground rules. I work remotely. Yeah. And if it doesn't work for them, it doesn't work for them.
Yeah. Just take on other producers, directors, or other clients, depending on what works for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's great.
What do you see yourself cutting in the future? What types of documentaries for what channels?
Yeah, I suppose it's a good question. For me, I suppose I grew up in watching a lot of documentaries on the likes of Channel 4 and BBC. They still make fantastic, or the companies working for them in Channel 4's instance make fantastic documentaries. But obviously I'd have to go up through the ranks of assistants, but the likes of Netflix and all of these people eventually down the track, all of those things are options. And I don't think it takes as long as it used to get to, but still takes years and years, obviously. But I suppose it would be working for kind of independent production companies, independent producers. I think it'd be more driven by the topics and nature of the documentaries. But I would be prepared to kind of start from the very beginning and just start again and just build up that experience.
Yeah. And
then obviously the more experience I have, the more choice I'll have, because I'll have more of a, portfolio of work, a body of work that I can show people.
Yeah. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there when you spoke about independent production companies, because that's where your sweet spot is. BBC, Channel 4, even Netflix, they're all outsourcing the production of these documentaries. And so they go to independent production companies. If you eventually, are looking to work with Netflix, you are looking to network with very specific production companies. the advice that I could give you would be, start small. Back to the earlier point, film festivals are a great way to discover the ones that are actually making good films.
Yeah.
And what you want to do is, find out the production companies that are making films at a certain level, at a level that you think you could achieve and you'd be a great asset to. Then go to the website, find the emails, producers, production managers, generally are the people that you were trying to reach. And I'll let you decide, based on your skill level, whether you would like to put yourself out there for assistant editing roles, or perhaps you'd like to put yourself forward as an editor. I haven't seen your work lately, so I won't be able to make that call for you. And what I will say is, don't sell yourself too low, because we all need to make a living, and they understand that, and they have budget. As much as they will tell you they don't have budget, they do have some budget. So push them for as much as you can get out of them, because they'll do the opposite.
True. I think it's that. I think sometimes, it comes down to belief as well, because you're doing a lot of work as the assistant. You can be given the opportunity to do a few scenes and to do, an amount of sequences. But then I think it does come back to yourself, that you do have to kind of say, right, I am actually capable of doing work at this level, and I am going to move across to, put myself out there to, even if you move up the ranks in assistant editing, where you're the first or whatever the case may be. But I think, I think you'll get more opportunities, as you've kind of mentioned there. If you go in as even the assistant, they see your work, doors will open, and they'll say, well, actually, on this one you were the assistant, but maybe in future we will look to give you some scenes, we'll look to give you a full project.
Yeah, what I will say is, don't expect them to offer you the next step. You have to ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Put yourself out there, and you're building relationships, you're building bonds with these people first and foremost. Trust is the biggest currency.
Yeah.
Certainly in this, in the post-production, someone will hire you if they believe they trust you, and then they'll teach you what you need to know.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If you let them know and they can see your skill level, they will look past that if they believe that they can trust you and that you've got the enthusiasm to see the project through and to push yourself. And once you're there, once you've got your foot in the door, you need to offer up to do those extra things.
Yeah.
They're not going to give it to you unless you ask. So ask to cut a small scene, ask to do some selects, and and you're never going to be able to move on in leaps unless you push yourself out of your comfort zone as well.
Yeah.
If you're always moving sideways and not able to have the confidence to just, maybe I can do that, then you'll find yourself plateauing. You have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position. Even if you don't think you can do it, if it's just beyond your skill level, that's perfect. Do that.
No, that's great advice, because I suppose when you do look back at things you have done in the past, you can always pull out at least one example where you have done that, and you think, that's why I did make the significant change or leap in that particular instance or in that career, or whatever the case would be. Because you have taken on maybe a little bit more than you thought you could do, and then you will deliver and you get everything done.
That's it. Exactly. You'll surprise yourself how much you can do. And it's looking back, that's when I made the biggest leaps in my career, is when I put myself in an uncomfortable position. And I said, I can do that. Even though I had nothing to prove that I could do that, but I had built up a level of trust with these people. They were like, okay, I believe you. Put it in my hands. And I pushed. And if I had to put an extra, couple of hours in the evening because I spend a bit of time, figuring out how exactly to do something, or I was watching a YouTube tutorial just to figure out that one thing while nobody was looking. If I can get it done, then I've learned in one day what it would have otherwise, I probably wouldn't have learned of my own steam. I would never have put myself in that position unless it was necessary. So use those opportunities to your advantage.
I think when you're putting yourself under deadline to deliver and someone is trusting you to do that, it does make all the difference. Also as well, because they've put their trust in you, you always want to repay that trust.
I don't really advise people to work for exposure, but another term that could be considered the same, similar thing, but not the same, is trust. If you work for trust, and if you believe that the investment of trust in someone is worth it, then that's the best kind of exposure that you can hope for. So are there any other questions about tactics or ways of being able to take the next step?
Do you think, looking back at your career or just advice in general, would you put yourself under, you've obviously got to put yourself under kind of deadlines and goals to have things done, maybe weekly, monthly, or by year end, or whatever the case may be. Is there anything like that you might recommend?
So you're asking, is it useful to set deadlines and goals to push your career forward?
Yeah, I suppose that's, please.
Because one of the tactics that we spoke about was networking at festivals. First of all, you need to see which festivals are hosting films that you would like to work on. Documentaries, obviously, in your case. Find the ones that are promoting films at the level that you would like to work at. You need to find out the dates of those festivals and create a calendar for the entire year of when those festivals are taking place. On those websites, generally they have a list of the nominees. So even before the festival has begun, you can already allocate some time per week, schedule some time in your calendar a week or 2 weeks before to research those people. Watch some of the trailers, perhaps watch the films if they're available, and you can schedule that time in based on when the festival is taking place. And that will give you access to the contact details of all these people to network with. I would recommend contact them every month just so that you are top of mind, but you're not being a pest.
Okay.
That's pretty much what I would use to schedule networking and building out that. That's really how I'd compartmentalize the year. But certainly setting aside time every week to do all the things on your list, specifically for the task of networking. I think that's a fantastic idea that I would highly recommend. And I think if you're like me, where unless it's written down, it's always going to be, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week. And there's always something that seems more important. I've generally found if I can dedicate one evening a week, 1 hour or 2 hours if I have it, every Wednesday, I'm going to email this list of people. Does that answer your question?
No, that's brilliant, Shiny. And you condensed everything that I wanted to know. And there's a lot of elements that it's almost like but you don't know. And you need someone to kind of almost like physically shake you and say, this is what you need and this is what you need to think about. So I found that really, really helpful. And even that last idea was a great that's really, something I need to be doing every single week.
Great. I'm glad it's helped.
If you like previously ran a business, and you would be doing that, you would be sitting down and you'd be looking for people, you'd be looking for, I suppose, leads and people, clients, and
Yeah.
you've always got to kind of have people ready to go. But sometimes you kind of forget that when you're kind of,
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yourself or freelancing.
Yeah, it is a business. The business is you.
It is, yeah, exactly.
And you need to run it like that, with
Yeah.
strict schedules and deadlines and contingency plans and everything else, because that's the only way it's gonna function and take off like a business would and follow that trajectory. Believe me, I've been guilty of coasting, so it definitely takes some dedication and scheduling to actually take the next step, and perseverance is incredible.
That's brilliant. No, thanks very much, and thanks for letting me do this.
My pleasure.
Really, really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time in
my
letting
pleasure.
me do this.
Great.
So it has been super useful.
Now, if you found this useful, then you can get tips in your inbox every week by signing up to the newsletter. Just head to unsplice.com and you'll be able to sign up straight on the first page. If you have a question that you'd like answered on the podcast, then why not head to unsplice.com/ask and submit your question, and then hopefully we can get you on the podcast and answer it live. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.